How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. It is the season of the dead, All Hallows Eve, Dia de los Muertos, and I figured what better way to celebrate it here on Red Zone Rogue than to have a good old-fashioned top 5 countdown. We are counting down the top 5 scariest Flesh and Blood cards. And I want to get this out of the way right now. This is not a bait and switch, and I'm not going to say like Command and Conquer is the scariest Flesh and Blood card because it's really good and it's really expensive. No. We're actually going to do it, right? We're going to do it. We're going to share the top 5 cards that I think have the scariest art in Flesh and Blood. We're going to talk about some creepy stuff, some gory stuff. It's going to get pretty graphic. So if that's something that you're concerned about, well, this video might not be for you, but if you're already playing Flesh and Blood, you've probably seen the cards already. I do also want to mention that today's video is brought to you by FAB DB, the premier Flesh and Blood deck building and database website. I use them to build all of my decks, and I think you should too. I do have a link in the description down below, so you should check them out. And you know what? While you're down there, go ahead and check out my online merch store, redzonerogue.com, for playmats and other accessories like sleeves. We do have some screepy, I was gonna say screepy. I did say screepy. Spooky, scary. It was spooky and scary. Some spooky, scary ones as well. So anyway, check all that stuff in the description down below, as well as some affiliate links and whatnot. But without further ado, let's get on with the top 5 scariest Flesh and Blood cards. All right, so I have reviewed literally every single Flesh and Blood card currently in print, and I've picked out a good chunk of cards. I know this is a top 5 list, but I kind of want to do one for each of the 5 sets currently out. Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, Crucible of War, Monarch, and Tales of Aria in that order. But we're going to kind of talk about some honorable mentions because some sets are more juicy than others. And speaking of juicy, we have Bloodrush Bellows from Welcome to Wraith. This card is the runner-up. This is actually not the card that we are going to be going with, though the art is very, very gruesome, to say the least. It reminds me of that scene from Lord of the Rings. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. And he's just got fists full of entrails. So definitely scary, definitely horrifying. And it's also, you know, a very scary card when your opponent plays it. The card that I'm actually going with is Drone of Brutality, because this art looks like something that you will have seen out of some sort of horror movie where, like, the protagonist or the main characters get lost in, like, some backwoods countryside, and they're like walking through the woods and they come out to a clearing and this is what they see. I think this is so horror movie-esque, and it's pretty brutal. It's in the name, Drone of Brutality. So this is my pick for the scariest card from Welcome to Wraith. Let's move on to Arcane Rising. So with Arcane Rising, we have some runners-up. We have Bloodspill Invocation. I like the spookiness of this card. It's not the scariest thing out there, but I like it. It's a little creepy. It's got these little like ghost guys coming out of this wall with this, you know, eldritch rune emblazoned upon the stone. I like the creepiness, but it's not scary to me. It's kind of like video game scary, right? Something you see in Dark Souls. Just something you can see in Dark Souls. The card that I'm actually going to go with is Reduce to Rune Chant, because this guy's he's melting. He's getting reduced into a rune chant. It's like Soylent Green. I'm gonna liken all of these to movies, by the way. It's like Soylent Green. He's just becoming a rune chant. Like imagine just getting melted. This is absolutely horrifying. Like what this guy must be going through. He's just, all of his blood is going up into the sigil in the sky. Brutal. So yes, Reduce the Rune Chant is my pick from Arcane Rising. For Crucible of War, there's a ton of picks, and first up we have Massacre. As you can guess, we're going to do a bunch of honorable mentions until we get to the final card. Massacre is looks like Meat's Back on the Menu Part 2. That's what this is. It's also very gruesome, and it looks like Meat's back on the menu, boys. Next up we have Feign Death. So Feign Death is a very classic horror movie trope, right? Where the protagonist like gets knocked down, or they fall down, or maybe they're already sleeping in their bed, and the monster slowly creeps towards them and just gets closer and closer until it's like right in their face, just breathing. And that's what this is. That's what this is. This is so horror movie. I dig it quite a bit. There's one movie in particular that I really love where this happens with a ghost called Tale of Two Sisters. Shout out to Tale of Two Sisters. But yes, Feign Death, also another runner-up. We also have Dread Triptych. This card is just like horror movie, like zombies and guts and like horrifying abominations and stuff. This one feels a little video gamey to me too. This looks like stuff you'd fight in Diablo, but it's still like pretty scary. Like, if you saw this, this is pretty terrifying, of these zombies like coming out of these runes, and this like mad cultist in the background. It's almost like very like Arkham horror-y to me. Very Lovecraftian and Eldritch, but it's definitely terrifying. The next card we have preys on your more carnal desires with Consuming Volition. This is also another runner-up. There's a lot of runners-up in Crew. I mean, Crucible of War has some brutal stuff. This one's pretty terrifying, and this is one of those situations where it's like, you know, maybe don't go make out with the naked lady in the pond, because maybe there's some ulterior motives going on there. And yeah, he's not gonna see this one coming. He's not gonna see this one coming. This one is brutal. The next one is Snag, and this one also is a runner-up, and this one is just like body horror gore. Like, Snag is rough. Just look at the just look at the art. Just look at what is getting snagged and what is on that metal spike. This is absolutely one of the most gory cards, even though it doesn't have like guts and entrails. For some reason, just the eye, the eye just freaks me out. So this one's rough. Snag is definitely up there. But my pick for Crucible of War is actually Kavdane, Trader of Skins, because Kavdane he's a horror movie villain. Just straight up, he's a horror movie villain. If you look in the background, there's like a head mounted on the wall. He's got like a heart or some sort of guts in his hand, just kind of like, you know, seeing how good they are. You have like these body parts and a cleaver in the background. He's like the Mad Doctor from like the Human Centipede or something like that. That's the vibe I get from Kavdane. So Kavdane is going to be my pick for the scariest card from Crucible of War, because he is one scary son of a piece of work. That's what Kavdane is. Yeah, just look at that head on the wall too. Ugh. Next we have Monarch, and Monarch, you can basically just pick any single Shadow Brute card from the set, and most of the Shadow Runeblade cards. They're all really rough, but we're gonna start off with some honorable mentions with Endless Maw. It's just teeth. It has no head, also no neck. It's just teeth. He's got like inverted neck, and it's all just teeth and spikes. This is also some like HP Lovecraft, Eldritch Cthulhu thing. Absolutely terrifying body horror monster. Endless Maw is like also just looks metal as all hell. Speaking of metal as all hell, we have Convulsions from the Bellows of Hell. This one, I can't remember the name of the artist who does all of this gross fleshy stuff, but that's what this reminds me of. This is just like fleshy blood everywhere. It's not even like, it has like no mass, like no discernible source. It's just like random flesh and blood and viscera and gore. And this one doesn't really do it for me as scary, because it's a little too abstract for me, but it's still pretty gross. It's pretty gross. And I mean, you'd definitely be horrified if you saw this in real life, and I bet it smells like abhorrent. So that's a runner-up. We also have another runner-up with Doomsday. Same kind of thing, but just a giant pile of skulls with like blood tentacles and veins. And I honestly think the scariest part about Doomsday is the hulking figures in the background. Also the little figures trying to climb the pile of skulls to summit this thing. But like the hulking shadowy figures in the background, that's kind of the scariest part to me. Doomsday is definitely up there. It's a absolutely brutal card, and also very, very metal.
Another one we have is Tome of Torment. This is basically the Necronomicon. This is the Necronomicon. It's incredibly gross, and I bet it's very wet to touch, and I bet it smells really bad. And there's some eyeballs just kind of in a plate. And this one is also very over the top, and it's got a. I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. Like, how could it not be a runner-up? It is so disgusting. And the book itself has eyeballs. I wonder if they're putting the eyeballs like into the book. In any case, it is disgusting and horrifying. And if you saw this book in real life, you would be very disgusted. And I should point out now that some books are actually made with human flesh. Keep that in mind for no thing in particular, just for your nightmares. So yeah, Tome of Torment. Another runner-up is Howl from Beyond. I think the card speaks for itself. It's got like, okay, you know what this reminds me of? I was just going to say it just got like gut tentacles. No, this actually reminds me of The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, the original one. That's what this reminds me of. Which, by the way, is a fantastic, fantastic movie. But that's what this reminds me of. It's not, I mean, it's scary, yeah. But once again, it's kind of like video game scary to me. This looks like a monster I would shoot a bunch in Resident Evil. But you could only shoot it when like the guts are showing. You can't really shoot it when they're inside. It's still pretty terrifying, though. And it reminds me of The Thing. No, the scariest card, in my opinion, in Monarch actually is Dread Screamer. This is absolutely horrifying. Everything about this is horrifying. You have the weird monster with its predator face with a weird mouth, just weird anus mouth. And we have all these tentacles coming out of its head, and it's like this weird serpentine body, and it's just peeling this dude's skull open. This is horrifying and disgusting, and definitely my pick for the scariest card from Monarch. This is Nightmare Fuel. This is a Nightmare Fuel. The monster thing basically has like a leech or lamprey face, which is ugh. Just look. Don't. I mean, if you want to go look up lamprey, but also don't. Now we're going to move on to Tales of Aria. So this is the last card we're going to talk about and the last set we're going to talk about. And there's only one card in Tales of Aria that I felt fit the bill for this list, and that is Sting of Sorcery. Just look at this art. Look at the abject horror in this person's face, and like it's just seeping out of their being. It kind of reminds me of the dude's face that melts in Indiana Jones. That's kind of the face he's got here, or the face from The Ring after Samara gets you. That's the face that this person is making, and you just have this shadowy horror of nightmares just oozing out of him. But just it's that face. That face is just absolutely terrifying. And that's gonna do it. That is my list of the top 5 scariest cards in Flesh and Blood. Even though we talked about maybe 18 cards today, I wanted to show off a lot of the gore and the horror today. Let me know what your picks are in the comments down below. There's a ton of picks from Crucible of War and Monarch. They are rife with the horror and the spookiness. There's ghosts and that kind of stuff, apparitions, but these are the ones that I went for. Mostly how they remind me of common horror tropes or things that I'm just personally scared of, like getting my head burrowed into by a big serpentine monster. I'm pretty scared of that. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time for some more Flesh and Blood content. Have a good one all, and we'll see you later.